Hello everyone, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Hardam Tripathi from Trip Law. Today we're going to discuss the E-2 visa. The number one question I always get in my practice, and our practice continues to have a lot of E-2 visas, people who are in E-2 treaty nations who are trying to come to these great United States of America. The number one question we have is, what's the best kind of business can we have in these great United States of America where we can get that E-2 visa? Well, that's a really great question. So today we're going to be discussing how do you pick the business that best situates you with your E-2 visa and also your American dream. So today we're going to talk about what is an E-2 visa. An E-2 visa is basically a visa, and it's a non-immigrant visa, and the difference between a non-immigrant visa and an immigrant visa is in a non-immigrant visa, you ultimately have to have the intent to return back to your home country. With an immigrant visa, you're pretty much on a visa and you're here. But with respect to the E-2 visa, the best thing about the E-2 visa is that it is a visa where the United States government ultimately has a treaty with that country. There's a list of countries out there, and we're going to have a separate video on that. But there are basically countries on this long laundry list of countries that are E-2 treaty countries. The E-2 treaty nations, ultimately, if you're part of that country or that nation, you ultimately have the wonderful opportunity to invest in a business and ultimately use that E-2 visa to live that American dream. With respect to E-2 visas, not only do you, the applicant, he or she, may have the opportunity to come here and get that E-2 visa, but then your spouse also gets a work permit, an I-765 EAD, Employment Authorization Document. This document not only allows your spouse to work here under that E-2 as a derivative beneficiary, but also your child, your son or daughter, who is under 21 and is unmarried, ultimately gets the amazing opportunity to also go through the public education system here in these great United States of America. And then you, as that petitioner, gets the opportunity to invest in a business or basically purchase an existing business based on the E-2 visa. So let's kind of attack this from a nuts and bolts perspective. If you're watching this video, you're probably curious, how can the E-2 visa benefit me? And also, what is an E-2 visa? What's the process? What's the best kind of business can I apply for that gives me that E-2 visa and allows me the most convenient way to get through the immigration process? I always look at immigration as like a chess game. You'll see a lot of videos out there on YouTube. You'll see a lot of attorneys out there talking to you about E-2 visas using all this legal jargon. Here at Trip Law, what we do is we try to make it simple and we get you the outcomes that you deserve. Ultimately, what we do is we look at the E-2 visa process. We look at what is your background and experience, what ultimately are you going to be happy with being in these United States, leaving your home country. That's a big step. I myself am an immigrant. I understand the process, just as you and your family understand it as well. And the loved ones you may have here, or the loved ones you may be leaving to come to this great United States of America, you're also going to realize that it's all business driven to an extent. So today we're going to really talk about what is an E-2 visa, what's the best business to invest in to get an E-2 visa, and what are the best protocols? What's the best way to go about doing it so that you have the outcome that you desire? So first of all, let's talk about E-2 visas. E-2 visas are basically visas, like we said, and we just aforementioned a little bit ago, we just talked about it, but basically E-2 visas are non-immigrant visas. These are visas where the United States government has a treaty with another country overseas. That could be your home country. You could be from a country such as Mexico, for example, or you could be a country that is an E-2 country. And ultimately what that means is if you're from that E-2 country, then you have the wonderful opportunity to bring your spouse here, you have the wonderful opportunity to bring your unmarried child under the age of 21, and you have the wonderful opportunity to be here and invest in a business or purchase an existing business, create U.S. jobs, and invest in your American dream. Not only do you get to make money, not only do you get to make an honest living, not only do you get to get an opportunity to live your life, but you also are on a pathway to potentially get a green card, which we will talk about in another video. So ultimately, when you're going through the E2 visa process, ultimately what ends up happening is you got to look at what is the parameters or what all is involved in getting an E2. What are the requirements? So we're going to attack this from a holistic level. We're going to look at it. What does it mean for you as that petitioner applying for your family? Ultimately, it's all about bringing your family together in the United States. Ultimately, all it is you have to invest in a business. You have to invest in a business that's either a business that you're going to invest in. May it be a franchise. May it be something that you're buying a business, right? Or may it be a business that's already existing, but you're purchasing that business. So that's a very important aspect. The business aspect of it is very important. Here at Tripathi, we ultimately have business backgrounds. We have attorneys and associates on staff that what we do is we make sure that all your needs are met. But ultimately, it's about you. What is your passion? We ask for your resume. We ask for your background. If you're coming to these great United States of America, you want to enjoy the hard-earned money you're making, but also you want to enjoy the job you're doing for all these amazing other people that you're going to be helping in these great United States. So ultimately, the number one requirement is you ultimately have to either purchase an existing business or invest in a U.S. business. That is parameter or prong number one. Number two is that the fact that you have to basically live in the United States. You have to come here with that business, and it has to be like a for-profit business. Can't be a nonprofit. And what's the difference between a for-profit business versus a nonprofit business, you may ask? So this is a business where it's like a commercial enterprise of sorts. It's something where you're making money to sustain yourself. You're also trying to create a life for your family, but also for the American populace. So ultimately, this has to be a business that's for profit, a commercial enterprise, something where you're actually earning income, making money. That is a for-profit business. A nonprofit business may be a type of business or a type of entity where it's not for profit. You're not making money off of it, nor that you should, because you're doing it for a cause or for some sort of thing that you may be passionate about. So in regards to an E2 visa, it has to be a for-profit business. So that is prong number two. And then also you may wonder, what kind of people actually go about investing in these E2 visas? What kind of goes into basically being an E2 visa holder? Well, you can be a franchisee. And here at Tripathi, we have franchise advisors that we will pair you up with. They'll be the ones creating the business plans. They'll be the ones making sure all your tax documents are in order. But before we get in the nitty-gritty, you got to understand that ultimately it's all about people who are investors, people who are franchisees, people who want to create a way of life here through the capitalist system we live here in the United States of America. You're trying to create a better job for your employees, for yourself, for everyone in this great country. And ultimately, if you're trying to leave that country and opportunities do not lie in that home country, the United States is going to offer that opportunity, and it's up to you then to bring that business idea that you so hard have worked for to bring it here to these United States. So ultimately, this opportunity, this E2 visa, is a wonderful platform for those who are interested in that non-immigrant visa, very strong visa, to ultimately have that opportunity to come to the United States, bring your spouse, get them a work permit, get your children educated who are under 21 and unmarried, and ultimately for you, make a return on your investment. Not only are you investing in the United States, but ultimately you're investing in yourself. And here at Tripathi, we want to invest in you. And we want to make sure that you ultimately have that drive and that energy and the laws and all that passion, and you ultimately know exactly what you need to do to get that E2 visa. And then finally, there's a lot of business requirements. So a lot of this is very legally driven, but we keep it pretty simple here at Tripathi. What we do is we just speak the language of business, but we also speak the language of people. Ultimately, people are people. We all want to live a good life for our families. And so ultimately, the law does require, though, at USCIS or the embassy or consulate abroad where you may be interviewing. And these videos that you will see in these series will talk about legal status versus, ultimately getting the E2 and all of these kind of things. But ultimately, the biggest thing is you being with your family. That's the biggest thing. That's why we all come to America. We want to have a better life than we had before for not only you, but for the generations that follow. And so ultimately, you have to abide by these business requirements. There's things that are in E2 that are very important that the government will look at that interview. Come to that consulate or embassy interview when you're at that embassy overseas.